So with social media, we're all aware of the violence that goes on. But what you may not know is there are little things that you can do to make a difference in your community. Those of you who know me know I do a lot of work in the community around domestic violence, teen dating violence, and mentoring in hopes to reduce violence in our community. Now, this week I'm in Atlanta for a training provided by the Office of Violence Against Women, as well as Men Can Stop Rape. And I had the privilege to interview Neil Irvin, who is the executive director of Men Can Stop Rape. Now, Neil Irvin is one of the leading experts on gender-based violence, and I got a chance to ask him a few questions about how we can reduce violence in our community and also how he got started doing some of this work. So please check out this awesome interview and let me know what you guys think in the comments and if you would be interested in working with us in reducing that violence in our community. What's going on? So I'm here in Atlanta with Neil Irvin and Men Can Stop Rape. And so I wanted to ask him some questions, obviously, for our youth about the work you've been doing. So you've been working and preventing violence for over 25 years in this industry. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you got started?
Yeah, most of my work has been focused on young people. I started as a camp counselor and a youth sports coach. It never felt like work to me. I always enjoyed doing that work. I've always felt like I was learning so much from the young people in a very sincere way. And it really matched my experience as a child. I said to you earlier, I was parented. My mother and father were still together, and I was very fortunate to see a man and a woman working together and have expectations of their children, and I was always safe. So it always felt like something that just came natural to me in that way. And when I started doing the gender-based violence work, what I realized is for all the communities that I had worked and served young people in, Boys and Girls Club, recreation departments, YMCA, YWCA, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, what was missing was a gender analysis. We were never really working just with boys. There were boys and girls, young people who were identifying in many different ways. And when we started emphasizing how we were teaching our boys to become men, that's really where I think it clicked for me that there was a much more strategic and impactful way to serve our young people, and it continues to be true 25 years later.
Right, yeah, you've done some amazing work, and I obviously know from the different events I've been able to attend, and obviously being at the conventions and seeing you speak. But I also wanted to ask, because you served as a consultant to the White House in regards to domestic violence, is that correct?
Yes.
So how did that come about?
So as you said, Men Can Stop Rape, we are in our 23rd year as an organization, and we serve urban, rural, and suburban communities all across the country. We've created public education campaigns for the Department of Defense. We provide technical assistance for the Department of Justice. We've consulted the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, the Major League Soccer. So we had a reputation and a body of work, most importantly through our Men of Strength clubs, most clubs, or our WISE Club. And so I think when President Obama was elected, he and Vice President Biden were really focused on all forms of gender-based violence and men's role in preventing it. So it was an introduction. They were introduced to our work and asked us to continue supporting not only the work we do for the Department of Justice, but for the White House Commission on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. So that allowed us to do some really amazing work both domestically and internationally, and continue to allow us to innovate with other leaders around the country and around the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Like I said, the work you do is amazing, and the work the organization does. I'm a huge fan, but also learning so much. And so I'm coming from the standpoint of an independent artist in South Florida, and I would ask you from an artist standpoint, what advice would you give me when creating to keep in mind as I'm putting out music for the community?
Yeah, what I love about, the arts and its ability to tell a story and to talk about social emotional learning, art moves you. It is deep in your core and it influences you. And so for your music being so positive, looking for ways to tell stories and inspire and lift up and role model, we know is both food for the soul, but also strategically skill building for young people to hear a message from a man who is an artist, who is a creative, who's promoting these kinds of values that we think are right in line with healthy masculinity. Again, we believe men can be strong without being violent, and that doesn't mean that we can't speak about some of the horrible or challenging things that go on in society, but that there should be a solution to the violence, and there should be a way through difficult moments, that the resiliency that we are sometimes challenged or faced with in life we think is important. And so for any artist, who is doing that kind of music. You could look at Common, you could look at Maimouna Youssef, like yourself, trying to promote pro-social kinds of sound and energy and really affect the world in a positive way rather than using it in a really negative way.
Thanks to Neil, we get a chance to apply some of that knowledge and those concepts in our own communities. So once again, if you liked this interview or you thought some of that information was valuable, I will actually place some links below to Men Can Stop Rape, as well as AVDA, which is Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse, and the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Thank you so much, and we would love to have your help in reducing violence in our communities.